Hey guys, and welcome to a new edition of News Bytes. This is my roundup of tech news from the last week, so let's get into it. So first off is the bit of news that HyperX and MSI, the overclocking team in Taiwan, their team there, set a new world record on overclocking memory, DDR4 to be precise, and it was 7,200 megahertz. Some people struggle to get 3,200 megahertz on their RAM. These guys have more than doubled that, and it was using HyperX Predator RAM and MSI Meg. I think it was the Z580 Unify X motherboard with an Intel i9 chip. So it was the 11,900 KF CPU, and really impressive overclock on the RAM there. I kind of touched on a similar kind of stories a few months back, where another completely separate team had managed to get quite high results on their memory overclock. This just takes it to another level, really. I think that is really impressive. And here's everybody waiting for DDR5, and we're getting speeds like this out of DDR4. So being somebody who puts up content on YouTube, I regularly see people complain about how long it takes for YouTube to process some of their videos. Sometimes, I've seen people comment, that it takes 24 hours to process a video. I've never really experienced anything like that myself, but clearly it is a problem for some users. And it's probably enough users that YouTube have now looked at this and decided to actually put something in place to handle it. And this article, it's basically the announcement that YouTube have effectively designed their own chipset for being able to help with the encoding of the video content that gets loaded onto their platform. They get 500 hours of video content every minute loaded onto the back-end systems, and clearly that volume of data that's getting uploaded with the encoding is taking a toll on their services. So they've designed this new chipset that is going to offer performance improvements 20 to 30 odd times faster than what it currently is. But it's kind of, I think this is interesting, this article, from two angles really. Obviously, YouTube being able to go away and go and create something like this, but also whether something like that might actually filter out into the general market. Whether they will keep it to themselves really. Video encoding is a very, very intensive process, and I'm sure there's an awful lot of services that could utilize something like that. So hats off to them for dealing with the problem head on. It's not going to get any less for them, in terms of what content with things like 4K, and they're moving on to 8K and stuff like that. So it is going to punish their servers more and more, and they've taken the steps to do something about it. The next article, which kind of caught my eye, not something you immediately associate with this country, but it's the news that Russia's developed its own B450 motherboard, and most of this stuff is Taiwan, China, and everything. And here you got Russia coming onto the market to develop their own. We're not going to get flooded with motherboards from them, unfortunately. They basically have what looks like their own company there that has teamed up previously with ASRock, I think it is, to basically utilize their designs for a particular motherboard. And this company in Russia, HyperX, I think they're called, they're going to be these are going to be used by government departments. The motherboards are almost 100% bog standard, apart from the fact that they're going to have TPM modules on them, which most government departments around the world really look for stuff like that. So yeah, they're looking at churning out thousands of these motherboards, I'm sure there'll be some kind of black market somewhere in the world where these things will probably make their way onto. But I think it's quite interesting. There's been a couple of things over the years of whether it's Russia or China, have gone and developed equivalent components that are freely available elsewhere. I think one of the notable ones that I've seen probably over the last 12 months is an equivalent version of a Xeon processor in China. So you never know what's being developed on the other side of the world, and to see something like that being published is quite an interesting thing, really. So talking about chipsets, and it's the bit of news really that Nvidia are looking at doing some kind of like soft launch of their RTX 30 cards. As I'm sure you're probably well aware, they did this driver release to try and help with the crypto mining issue at the moment. Now they're looking at limiting this on the hardware side, and they're going to launch these new variants of the cards. It looks like it's everything in the range apart from the 3090. That's probably because it's just far too expensive for the miners to consider investing in. Everything else is pretty low end in price. But I guess the thing to note here is that it is going to have a different product code, SKU on it. So you need to make sure if you're going to be buying one for a particular reason that you get the one with the relevant product code. So the current ones available on the market are all -200 on the end of it. The new ones are going to be -202 as a product code. So need to make sure you're aware of that. I believe it's going to be June that they're looking at launching these. So by all accounts, there's not going to be a big fanfare about this. The aim is to just get these into the marketplace. Whether this is going to work, whether this is going to resolve the problem with end user, consumer, gamer supply problems is another thing. Personally, I think they need to be ramping up production, not just Nvidia, AMD as well, and their third parties. They need to be ramping up production to flood the market so that there is sufficient supply for people to be able to buy at various outlets. When you've got retail outlets that have got 1 or 2 units in stock, that just isn't good enough. You need to have tens, hundreds of these in supply for an outlet, and that's the only way that's going to kill off certainly things like the scalpers and things like that. Obviously limiting the card is another way to tackle the miners side of things, but it kind of has to be multiple fronts of attack on this. Otherwise, these whole ranges of cards will come and go, and pretty much won't get used by gamers. And we'll all be waiting for the next new version from Nvidia and AMD. So let's see what happens. It's only a couple of months away, so we'll see what happens and see how well that goes down, and whether people actually manage to get hold of a card eventually. Finally, this is obviously something that's going to impact quite a few people, I would imagine. If you stream your music and you are a Spotify user, that is the announcement that they are increasing their prices, and that it does seem to vary depending upon where you are in the world. It's as little as £1 in the UK, up to I think it's £2, depending upon what your plan is. Elsewhere it can be $1 or $2, something like that. A little bit of a contentious thing, this really, given how much people argue about these streaming services and how much they actually pay out to the artists, or how much the artists ultimately get from the end product of that. So to be increasing prices, and when you look at the other services, they're not increasing their prices either. So I think people will be wanting to know what is going to happen with that extra money. Spotify say it is to add new functionality and extra features that people want within the service. Most people are just doing it to stream music. I think the thing would be interesting to see whether this triggers anything with anybody else, you know, things like Apple Music and Tidal and you know, Amazon Music and stuff like that, and Deezer, all those ones, you know, are they suddenly going to increase theirs by you know, £1 or £2, whatever? But yeah, if you've got Spotify, from what I've seen on a screenshot, is you know, they're letting people know about the price increase, but they're going to throw in a free month or an extra month, as it were, at your current price, so that you're able to basically transition over to the new price or cancel. But yeah, you know, will this see a tide of people leaving Spotify because of the price increase? We will have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video this week. If you did, you know, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. But as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.